Hey guys, welcome to part two of our greatest great soundtracks in film. We last left off at The Dark Knight, that was composed by Hans Zimmer. And speaking of Batman scores, Kurt's going to talk about Danny Elfman next, who did the first two Tim Burton Batman movies.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to talk about the Batman ones. I hadn't planned to, but now you bring it up. Those were actually pretty good. I mean, that kind of established the main Batman theme, right? Didn't it?
Yeah, because they used that score for years, and then when Hans Zimmer took over for Batman Begins, then people started to recognize the Hans Zimmer one more so than the Danny Elfman one.
It was still iconic for when those movies were out.
Mm-hmm.
You knew what the Batman theme was, and well, I mean, kind of like a little bit of backtracking back to John Williams. He did the original Superman themes, I believe.
Yep, he did.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we got both of these guys who are just making great themes for superheroes who are iconic. Like, they have been great characters within our Americana culture. And then now they're finally getting their silver screen debut and their silver screen opportunity. And then you've got these great composers just making up these very, very cool, very well done themes for them. And, like, it's fitting. Like, you would expect a Batman theme to sound like that or a Superman theme to sound like that. And it's just so great to finally see it or hear it. But for Danny Elfman, he also has so many other stuff. Like, I have it down here, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Oh, God.
that movie just... Well, another thing, too, is he actually sung some of the songs.
I know. Like, my understanding is that he and Tim Burton, they were getting together to write the songs. Mm-hmm. And, like, Danny Elfman recorded himself singing the songs initially just as a test. He wasn't going to be the original voice of Jack Skellington, but he was just so good and so into it. They said, you know what, screw it, you're Jack Skellington.
Well, another thing that's kind of neat too is if you listen closely, it's very hard to tell that's because he sounds like Chris Sarandon, who did the voice of Jack Skellington, and the fact that we go from Chris Sarandon's voice to Danny Elfman's, Danny Elfman managed to sing it in a way that made it sound like Chris Sarandon was singing it, and it's just like that's a really incredible talent.
Honestly, I did not know that there was a different voice actor for speaking and singing just now. I thought it was just Danny Elfman through and through.
Yeah, I mean,
they're that close. Like, I just knowledge to me.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think he just examined Chris Sarandon's voice so much and applied it with his singing skills that by the time it was his turn to sing the song, it's just like he knew exactly what Chris Sarandon sounded like and just applied it with his own singing voice.
And then singing aside, just the theme, the Halloween Town theme, it is something you expect from Halloween. It's kind of jumpy, kind of dark, kind of plodding along, but it's also kind of fun and joyous and kind of like mischievous. And that's what Halloween is all about. Then you later on in the film, you go to Christmas Town and you go, what's this? And it's all magical and happy and sparkly. And again, that fits Christmas. That's what you would expect a Christmas song to be like. And like, it fits other well-established Christmas songs.
And Danny Elfman even said once, too, he said, the reason why my scores seem to be as popular as they are is because I make them about the experience and not what I see. He said I try to make them about what the audience is experiencing. Is it something scary? Is it something happy? Is it something, electrifying? He said he bases it off of what the director gives him as far as footage goes, and then he just makes the score from there.
And that's sort of professional. Then I'm just going to list these. Like, there's Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice has such a good theme.
A lot of Tim Burton scores, I believe, were done by Danny Elfman.
Tim Burton and Danny Elfman are pretty much inseparable. I mean, he's just great in general. I don't know what else to say about him. He's a fantastic
He's
guy.
done a lot of stuff with Sam Raimi also, because he did the new Oz score and he did the
I haven't heard of that one.
It's pretty good. It's definitely in the spirit of the original.
He's always good.
So.
Can you name a bad Danny Elfman soundtrack?
Nothing bad. I will say, though, I do like Hans Zimmer's Batman score a little better. I'm not saying Danny Elfman's is bad. I'm just saying, as far as comparing him with another composer, I think I like Hans Zimmer just a little bit better.
In terms of that, I think it's just that both kinds of Batman's movies, the Tim Burton ones, and like the original set, and then also the newer ones by Christopher Nolan, they're also kind of different thematically. The original ones by Tim Burton, they're a bit more lighthearted, whereas Christopher Nolan is a lot more dark and serious. So I think it's more like it's very appropriate also composers for those different kinds of movies. Because Danny Elfman, he's honestly a bit more on the lighthearted side. You can hear that in a lot of his different songs.
Yeah,
and so it comes about in the original Batman ones.
Yeah, I think because, the original Batmans are more so Bob Kane's Batman, more comical, maybe a little bit of Adam West every once in a while. I think it was definitely more suiting for that kind of universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think just as far as what Batman score do I like better, I think I would have to give it to the Hans Zimmer one.
Okay.
But maybe just because I like that epic feeling that Zimmer brought to the movie. But what are some other composers?
I had V for Vendetta, but I honestly can't think of too much about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so hyped up on Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
But it was still good. Like,
do you think it was done by Danny Elfman?
No. I mean, like, I'm just hyped up on Danny Elfman. I can't
Mm-hmm.
think of anything else right now. There was one scene in particular, I think it was the end. The very end, when everybody takes off their masks, you can see that it was everybody who had died in the movie, and it's like, oh, we're all V and whatever. That part, the music really drove it in.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I guess part of it is also like a reprieve of the 1912 Overture. Was that even it, or am I thinking of some other song that was...
Remember, I didn't like that movie too much, so I really can't say too much. But
all right, I guess maybe I shouldn't have brought this up. Otherwise, I think that's all I've got for now. What have you got, Tom?
Okay. For more of mine, kind of continuing off of Avengers from our last video, I really like the score of the original Iron Man. What Jon Favreau did is not only did he, because there is I think it is called just Iron Man from AC/DC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He just said, oh, screw it, I'm going to use Iron Man from AC/DC. And what he did is, I liked how he not only used that song, but he used like Back in Black from AC/DC. He used a lot of heavy metal rock band kind of stuff.
Well, I think that the AC/DC specifically was because of the Iron Man song.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the other ones just kind of fit along with it.
They also did like Shoot to Thrill.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And also, it fits the character of Tony Stark. He's a playboy, and he's going to have those songs.
And I think the reason they use the score too is because when he's like working in his lab, I think he does listen to a lot of rock. Mm-hmm. So they figured to kind of fit that character and to kind of have the whole Iron Man from AC/DC feeling, let's just have AC/DC playing on every other scene, and then when he's in his garage, we'll make it feel like he's listening to these songs while he's working on
That's the soundtrack of his life, basically.
Yeah. And then another film, and I think Kurt had this one too, was Pulp Fiction.
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino, I heard he even bases some of the budget for his films to go toward the musical scores, so that could be a reason why a lot of his musical scores are just so good in his movies. That film, I think... I mean, who would have... Because, when you sit through opening credits, it's like, okay, that's nice. But then with Pulp Fiction, like, they have really good songs. Yeah, like, good songs playing during the opening credits. And it's just like, this is the first opening credits I actually like sitting through. And so the fact that Tarantino manages to do that is, I think, a huge accomplishment alone. Did you want to talk? I know you had Pulp Fiction on your list, too.
That's pretty much all you have to say. It's like... Well, and also, it leaves a lot of, like... I don't think the soundtrack really sticks out because of the original songs. It's how it uses the cultural songs. Mm-hmm. Like it has, I don't know the name of the song, but like you mentioned at the beginning, opening credits, that's an actual song out there. I can't think of the name though. Mm-hmm. Then there's other ones like when John Travolta and Uma Thurman, they're in the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And it's got the 50s theme, or I think it was 50s.
Yeah, because there was like they're talking about the scene where they're dancing together.
Yeah,
right?
and so you've got actual cultural songs from the 50s happening there. Then even then, this was in the 80s, I think it was set. 90s.
It might have
been. No,
it
was the 90s. I'm pretty sure it was the 90s.
Well, the movie came out in the 90s.
Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much when it's set. And it's a relic, like not a relic, I mean, an example of the time. If you will watch Pulp Fiction right now, that's pretty much typical for a 90s soundtrack. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying it's bad or anything, it's just, that is 90s. And he kind of encapsulated the era in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one thing I noticed about the movie too is like even when the scene where Quentin gives Jules and Vincent, some street clothes since their tuxedos are dirty with the blood. If you look at their shirts closely, it does kind of have a '90s feeling with the shirts, simply because that was a big MTV era. There was a lot of like pulp culture, in your face kind of stuff, and even like the small things like the shirts in this movie kind of have a '90s feeling to it. So it's definitely a '90s period piece, and I think Tarantino manages to pull it off really well. I also have the first Kick-Ass film in here. I don't think Kurt's...
I've never seen Kick-Ass.
Very good score. Matthew Vaughn's a good superhero score kind of person. He worked on X-Men First Class. Just a score where you listen to it is like, wow, that does feel like an epic superhero score. Kurt and I briefly talked about this earlier, 500 Days of Summer. Oh, yeah. I had that score on here too, just because I think it's really memorable. One score I actually had to show Kurt again earlier, just because I really enjoyed this, was the score for Ruby Sparks. Mm-hmm. Really mystical, imaginative, beautiful score that I think really represents the film very well. And would you say the same?
Yes, I mean I hadn't remembered it when Tom brought it up, even though I've seen the movie. To me, the soundtrack wasn't that impressive. It was still good. I mean, it's not like I remembered it all that well. But then Tom made me listen to it again. It's like, oh yeah, this is coming back, and it was very good. It was very technically good. It very well fit the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I personally wish I could remember it because it's a shame. It's so good.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things where when you listen to because a lot of these, like we were mentioning before, a lot of these I've listened to them just by music alone. No footage to go along with, and the ones where the footage, the music alone just kind of gets you. I think Ruby Sparks is one of those kind of films where if you just listen to the music, you're just like, wow, there's something going on here. Yeah, I think Ruby Sparks definitely fits the bill for that kind of feeling. And then before I give it out to Kurt again, I did want to bring up Inception again. I think the score for that's really great. One thing too is even if you listen to like the trailers for that movie, even the trailers have good scores, and that's really saying something when even the trailers for your movie have a good score going on for it.
Okay, kind of going off what we did with Pulp Fiction, I also have Django Unchained on my list.
That's a good score.
Like
Django.
I know that theme, like that opening theme, it is so like it's kind of corny and raunchy, but like it's very fitting for Tarantino and also the subject matter at hand. It's just so well done. Even though
I like the song
crazy
at the end of the movie too when they blow up the mansion. Mm-hmm. Whatever song was I forget what it's called, but like whatever song was playing, it's like that is like the perfect fit for this kind of scene.
It's a Western. It's a Tarantino movie. It's so good. Also, I haven't seen Kill Bill.
That's a good score.
I know, but like the theme, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of building up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even though I haven't seen it, I know that song. It is so good. It's so iconic.
They even play it during the trailers, and even now they use in the trailers like da 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 da.
But I mean, Tarantino, he always seems to nail it with the soundtracks for some reason. Even
like
if he doesn't do it, like I'm sure he has someone else behind it.
He spends a good budget on the
music. Oh yeah, and it's worth it. Mm-hmm. All right. So I also have Transformers here. I know it's not a good movie in the first place. Yeah, but I mean,
it really sticks with you.
Yeah. I know the soundtrack though. It's so good. Despite the fact that the movie is absolute crap, the movie's pretty damn good. I mean, the music's pretty.
I'll give Transformers this. I liked the first two, not the third one. I like the first two films. Oh, I know. You have a bad movie when your second actress who replaced Megan Fox is worse than Megan Fox. That's when you know your movie sucks.
Quick sidebar: are they making a fourth? I thought I heard that.
They are.
Hopefully the soundtrack is still good.
Okay, here's what happened. Michael Bay's like, I wonder what I'm going to do with my next movie. Well, I just got done with Pain and Gain, and I don't know what I'm going to do. Michael Bay, here's $1 million. Go make Transformers 4. Okay, I'll go make Transformers 4.
Okay, now, two things I think before I forget about them. James Bond. I have not watched James Bond, honestly.
Good scores.
I know. I mean, the James Bond theme. Like, da, 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 da,
David Arnold and John Barry did a lot of the scores for those.
I know. It's so good, though.
I got to, before I take you home later today, I got to show you something from Die Another Day.
Okay.
There's a good song from Die Another Day
that's nothing. Every James Bond film, at least to my knowledge, they have a pop artist. They make the theme song, basically. Like, I think Madonna had Die Another Day, didn't she?
She did Die Another Day.
Yeah, and then that's the only one I know off the top of my head, but like
Adele did Skyfall recently.
Yeah, I mean those are all so good. I think there's only like one. I think it was done by Milli Vanilli. Like that's not so good.
You know what it probably was? Probably during the Timothy Dalton era because all those Bonds sucked. Okay, those movies are so bad. Dalton only played Bond twice. Like, okay, we're moving on to a new Bond here. Sorry, Timothy Dalton. And so that's when you knew that you had a bad Bond. Is when Timothy, because Timothy, that guy. Don't even watch his movie. Watch a trailer for one of those Bond movies. He is the most dull, most boring James Bond I've ever seen. He's just like, Bond, James Bond. I know I'm boring, but I'm James Bond. It's just like, go away, go home and eat some Doritos or something. I don't want to watch this.
Okay. Well, I think we have enough time for my next part. So can we do that the next part?
Yep. For part 3, guys, we're going to talk even more about some great musical scores for films.